And we are live. So, welcome to, we're back to our regular spot of a Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. GMT. And as usual, I'm going to be going over some of the week's cybersecurity incidents, things that have been happening, things you should patch. We're going to have a look at some pfSense 24.0.3 has been released, so I'm going to go over that briefly. I know I've already gone over the notes and stuff last week, but it's now released. OPNsense 24.1.6, we're going to revisit that as well, because last week I did advise that you don't upgrade. If you run in ZenArmor, there was a MongoDB compatibility issue with ZenArmor, so ZenArmor recommended themselves that you don't upgrade until they'd fixed that issue, and as of a couple of days ago they now have. So let's dive in and start looking at some of the cybersecurity issues that I've flagged. So I do these generally for my own purposes. During the week, I kind of go through, highlight things that maybe of concern to me, maybe I need to look at, and then I'll just flag things that other people might find useful and bring them up. So the first thing that I want to look at is, let me bring this up. Let me find it 1 second. Where is it? Where is it? Can't see it. This one here. Again, we'll start with WordPress. So, if you're running WordPress, as I say every single week, because these come up every single week, you need to keep WordPress itself patched and on the latest version. You need to keep the environment that is running in, such as PHP, on the latest versions. This is a popular WordPress plugin, and this became a thing a couple of days ago. So, a critical Forminator plugin flaw impacts over 300,000 WordPress websites. Excuse me, 1 second. So, the Forminator WordPress plugin used in over 500,000 sites is vulnerable to a flaw that allows malicious actors to perform unrestricted file uploads to the server. There's actually a couple of issues here. Now, we do run a couple of sites for people, so I brought this to their attention, to the web developers, and said, you need to patch this. For the sites that we do host for people, I always seem to be approaching the web development teams or whoever's done the website and saying, like, look, this is out of date, you need to patch it, you need to patch the plugins. And it always seems to be me that reaches out first on that. I can't stress enough how much you need to keep these things up to date. So there's 3 CVEs basically. 2024-288890. Insufficient validation of files during file upload, allowing a remote attacker to upload and execute malicious files on the site's server. So you can upload a file as PHP and execute it. There's CVE 2024-31077. SQL injection flaw. Every time I see this, I'm like, we still have an SQL injection flaws in 2024? But we are. So, the first one impacts 1.29.0 and earlier. The second CV is for 1.29.3. And then there's a third one, which is for older versions, which you definitely should have patched at this stage, which is a cross-site scripting attack, CVE 2024-31857. Allowing attackers to execute HTML script, basically. So you definitely shouldn't be running version 1.15.4. To fix both of these, upgrade to a version greater than 1.29.3. I think 1.30 is the latest version of that from when I looked at it for somebody. So yeah, if you run in Forminator, make sure it's up to date or you're going to have a problem. Let me transition that back again. This CV, it's not on there. Which one is it? This one has a rating of, if I've got them the right way around, this one has a rating of 9.1, so it's quite high. And this second one has a CVS score of 9. Which one is it? Way around. One's 9.8 and one's 9.1. Either way, they're both very high, and they're very trivial to exploit as well. So I really recommend that you do that. So if you've got a WordPress site and you've got Forminator running and you're watching this stream, yeah, stop and go and patch your WordPress site, because it is that easy to take over. There was another WordPress. Let me get rid of that one. There was another WordPress one as well, which is quite a popular plugin. Which one was it? This one here. It's not going to pull up. Come on. Website's not loading. This is good. Okay, so I'll go through this one by hand, I take it. So this WordPress plugin is called WP Data Picker. Is it just loaded? Yeah, it has. Let me transition this in one sec. Again, WordPress plugin flaw exposes 10,000 plus websites to cyber attacks. There's only so many times I can say patch. If you're watching this, you should get the idea by now of WordPress. You need to check it daily. For the ones that we host, there's a utility called WP Scan that scans for vulnerabilities. We just have it set up to automatically scan the websites that we host, or the WordPress ones, and we get alerted. And then that's why we always seem to be the ones approaching web design companies and people that have done WordPress websites for our clients and saying, like, look, you need to patch this or get it off our servers. So this one is this arbitrary options update vulnerability. It's a CVS score of 8.8. What does it do? So yeah, this one's not as it does need patching, so you do need to update it. When they say like it leaves 10,000 plus websites exposed to cyber attacks, so we've got the source code so we can see what's going on. So we've got like a $500 bounty for discovering this, but it is so this vulnerability could be exploited by authenticated attackers. So if they don't have a login to your website, then obviously it's a vulnerability that wants patching, but it's not life and death. So authenticated with any subscriber level access and above. So obviously by default, people are unauthenticated on WordPress. But yeah, you do need to be aware and patch it. So it's not a plugin I'm familiar with or I've used, but I just figured I'd bring it up for any WordPress followers we have. I think that's pretty much the two WordPress things. But the Forminator one, I say it's a very popular plugin. We've had a couple of clients. I've had to reach out to a couple of people and ask to have that sorted. It always amazes me that I'm the one asking to sort it when somebody else is doing the websites for them. So Google Chrome has patched some critical vulnerabilities this week. That's not something I'm going to go into too much because every time you close your browser and you launch it, it does check for an update. But if you're using Chrome, just you can manually force an update. It never hurts to do that now and again anyway, because sometimes obviously the amount of Chrome installs there are in the world. Google tends to stagger the updates out. What else did we have on here? I'm trying to do them in order of importance first. So I mentioned about the Palo Alto routers and the fact that, yeah, there was a 0 day and they was vulnerable. So I did mention this on last week's stream, which I did on Thursday instead of we're back to Wednesdays, by the way. That was just because of football. So I mentioned the 0 day. Sorry, I was just reading one of the comments. I've tried to set up. Let me project this over there. I've tried to set up a site-to-site VPN on pfSense using Tailscale, and I followed your instructions from your video and did not work. I'll cover Tailscale. The easiest place to ask for that, I saw your comments on YouTube about this. YouTube comments are really hard for me to keep track of, just because of the way they work. They get hidden and all sorts of things. So you can ask on the forum, or you can wait for me to do a site-to-site using Tailscale. It should be quite straightforward on Tailscale. I've not covered that yet, I don't think. I've only covered the WireGuard ones. But that's probably the best place to ask for that, and I will try and have a look at doing Tailscale in the next week, to be honest. I do have some videos planned. Currently working on a Bitwarden one, but as I do the videos myself and I edit them myself, it kind of takes a bit of time, and I'm trying to obviously squeeze clients in, and clients come first. Try to squeeze the videos in around the clients. Back to the Palo Alto exploit. There's now proof of concept code that's out in the wild. So these things are now actively being exploited at quite a high and alarming rate. So yeah, if you're running Palo Alto, you should definitely have them patched by now, because I did bring that up last week. See, WireGuard's quite easy for the site-to-site stuff, to be honest. But I will cover Tailscale. It is the simplest thing for... I suppose WireGuard can be a bit of a pain if you're not familiar with it. But I will have a look at that on Tailscale. Let me close that down. So I'm just going to briefly go through some of these points that I was looking at. If you're into gaming, this is always one. So personally, I mean, I don't really game that much anymore, but I do have a separate system set up at home just for gaming. I tend not to use the same. It's Windows anyways, so I tend not to use Windows much. But there's fake cheatless gamers into spreading info steal malware. So people are trying to download, I think it's Cheat Lab, this one was. So people so a new info stealing malware linked to Redline poses as a game cheat called Cheat Lab, promising downloaders a free copy if they convince their friend to install it too. And yeah, all it's doing is stealing things from your computer. And Redline's a particularly nasty form of malware as well, because even if you've got multi-factor authentication set up on many of your accounts, it'll steal the cookies, and they can use the cookies to log in without the need for MFA or the need for your password. They don't even need to know your password. So that's one to be aware of. It's also a good reason why you should always keep your gaming PCs separate from your personal use computers, separate from work PCs. That was probably some good advice for the last past guy that got compromised. Speaking of games, if you play Elite Dangerous, they've just changed it, and people are in uproar a bit about that. They've changed it so that you can buy space pixels with real money, which is always kind of interesting. But I mean, EVE Online's, you can buy game time real money, but you can also grind it in game. I just looked at that one. This one's an interesting one. So I'll pull this one in. So for developers and people out there that use GitHub, so GitHub comments abused to push malware via Microsoft repository URLs. So you might not be aware that when you post a comment on GitHub, you can attach files to it. So people have been commenting on Microsoft repositories, attaching files which have been malicious, and then they're using those links to spread the there's a way to spread the malicious malware and things. So there's a couple of examples here. So when you're leaving comments, people can just leave a link, and it looks like they're leaving a link to a file that's downloaded from Microsoft repository, and it's not. They're just malicious files that people have uploaded. So if you use GitHub, that is definitely one to be aware of. I actually tested this on GitLab. So not only does it affect GitHub, you can do the same thing with GitLab. Obviously, it's supposed to be a feature, but people always find a way to abuse things. So GitLab has exactly the same issue where you can leave upload files in the comments, and then you can link to that as well. And I just thought I'd bring that up because that's quite a clever way. I've not seen many people think of actually doing that before. In fact, just to confirm, there's an article on it here as well on Bleeping Computers, same thing. GitLab affected by GitHub style CDN flaw allowing malware hosting. And this is exactly the same thing. GitLab comments can also be used to push malware in the same respect that the GitHub ones can. So just be aware of those. Obviously, people post links to GitHub for latest versions of software and things. So if you think you're downloading something legitimate, you're not. And the easiest way around that is to go to the actual GitHub repository yourself and check for the latest versions rather than choosing files that are hidden in comments. Again, this same weekly news about Fortinet. I'm convinced not to use these at this stage. So there was a post on a hacker forum. There's a link here. Threat actors offer access to 3,000 FortiGate SSL VPN gateways. So people that have not patched, or people that have patched too late, but mainly people that have not patched them, they've been breached, and people are selling their credentials on the dark web for that. Security recommendations: conduct an immediate security audit of all Fortinet SSL VPN devices, apply the patches, enhance monitoring, patching something after it's been exploited is kind of a strange thing to do, and you're better off starting again with it, basically. I'm trying to do these in some kind of order rather than just randomly going on about things. Another one, this was on GB Hackers. So there's a FTP server. Obviously, FTP servers are used so you can upload and download files. They are still a thing. And Crush FTP has a 0 day and it's under active attack. So Crush FTP is a file server that supports secure protocols, offers easy configuration, and offers powerful monitoring tools. Critical vulnerability allows file system escape. So if you're running Crush FTP, again, that's pretty urgent. That's patched. It's not one I'm familiar with, that, actually. I've not even heard of it in the past, but it obviously is. So there's an update for it. Update to latest version of 11.1.0. Log into the dashboard, web interface, and click update now. And wait for files to download. For offline users, you're going to have to download the zip file and set it up that way. When I started doing these, I figured I'd start bringing attention to any issues that have come out over the last week. I think when I did the first or the second, I didn't expect to be this many every week. It's kind of scary. Obviously, I follow certain channels for software that we use, but it's just scary the amount of attacks and breaches and things going on. Covered that one. This is kind of related as well. So GPT-4 is capable of exploiting 87% of one-day vulnerabilities. I don't know how the percent's calculated here. I'm sure somebody's done something on it somewhere, but if you look at YouTube videos, it says like 97% of something have done this in 6 minutes or something to get you to click on them. But anyway, large language models have achieved superhuman performance on many benchmarks. Well, they will do because they're not human. But you can give them a CVE and they're able to chain the CVEs together to exploit. And this is why you need to update software. Whilst one CVE might not seem that bad to you, it might only have a low score. You can chain them together if they have multiple CVEs to take over systems and stuff. And this is how people are using GPT and large language models to automatically just hack systems. So that's kind of scary. I mean, it's not the be all and end all, but it's making these type of attacks easy to less capable people, shall we say. So people that don't have the skills to do it themselves can pretty much set GPT up to do it for you. Get that one off the list. I am trying to get through these as quick as I can because I still want to cover the pfSense stuff, the OPNsense stuff, and something interesting that I've not found much information on yet with regards to TrueNAS CORE, and somebody or group of people are attempting to fork it to keep it on FreeBSD. Not sure how that's going to work. I mean, at the moment, IX Systems have said that it is going to be supported for a couple of years. which is the 13.3 release of FreeBSD that it's on at the moment, is supported for that long. So I think people are concerned that it's just going to get abandoned. So there's a fork of that coming up, and I'll discuss that after I've done the pfSense and OPNsense stuff, while we get this out of the way. VirtualBox. If you're running VirtualBox, which I'm assuming if you're a home user and you're watching my videos, you'll be running VirtualBox for a lot of stuff. I certainly run it myself, and there's a proof of concept exploit already available. Severity is 7.8 high. Oracle has already acted on it and patched it. So, but a publicly available exploit proof of concept has been published. So if you're running it, you need to make sure you're on the latest version. Basically, it's a file system flaw that allows threat actor to escalate privileges, and it's because of the way VirtualBox works, allowing our users to write to the installation folder C program data VirtualBox. VirtualBox attempts to move log files from the location as NC authority system for backup actions, and that can be exploited. So if you're downloading VirtualBox images and things, well, patch anyway, but yeah, be aware of VirtualBox needs to be updated. I think we're getting... I try to keep these to like 20 or below, because sometimes I can just start rambling on about things forever. There's let me do this. Let's pull the article up. So this I've kind of been aware of for a while. Whether you're using iPhone or using Android, you can change keyboards. Maybe you don't like the default keyboards. Some of the keyboard doesn't have the functionality. A popular one is Hacker's Keyboard on Android, because it allows you to use things like F1, F2, whereas standard phones don't, because they don't have the need for this functionality. Pull this up. So just be a bit careful when you're using keyboards on... it kind of goes without saying. Well, what was this? Was this an Android one or iOS? So security vulnerabilities uncovered in cloud-based pinion keyboard apps could be exploited to reveal users' keystrokes. This is a thing, like even with the Hacker's Keyboard, when you install it on Android, it comes up with a warning saying your keystrokes could be sent somewhere else and they've got no control over where it is and where they're going. So just be wary of any keyboards that you're using. For the proper security conscious, I'd just not use other ones. But collectively, it's estimated that close to 1 billion users are affected by this class of vulnerability. With input method editors, IMEs, from Sogo, Baidu, iFlyTech accounting for a huge chunk of the market share. I'm assuming I said some of them right. So the findings come from Citizen Lab. So obviously it's something to take seriously, but it's kind of common sense anyway that this could be a problem, which discovered weaknesses in 8 of 9 apps from vendors like Baidu, Honor, iFlyTech, Oppo, Samsung, Tencent, Vivo. I'm not even saying that last one. Xiaomi. The only vendor whose keyboard app did not have any security shortcomings is that of... That's interesting. Howies. So yeah, if you're going to use custom keyboards on your phone, be wary of what you're doing. You have no idea where that data is going. Phishing attacks are on the rise by 58%. Again, I don't know where these numbers come from. Because people are... attackers leverage The functionality of AI, come on, Sam. AI tools, such as ChatGPT, Copilot, whereas, people, I'd say non-English native people can now use things like ChatGPT to generate much better text to go in phishing emails. I mean, I'm sure there's other ways to do it rather than using large language models for that. Is an option. Okay, so Volkswagen have been hacked. Hackers stole 19,000 documents. That seems like a nice, well-rounded number. So, yeah, suspected of Chinese involvement, was it? Yeah. Investigations suggested that the cyber attack originated in China. It always amazes me how security incidents are always prefixed by sophisticated security incidents. Many of them are not as sophisticated as you think. Like the Duo one. I think Duo, I've not got this actually tagged here. But Duo suffered it. Not them directly, but one of their providers that handles VoIP and SMS was breached. Meaning Duo was as well. So, yeah, humans are always a problem, no matter how educated they are on computers. These next two I'm going to cover, they're not really, well, the next one I'm going to cover. So, Google was going to kill off third-party cookies completely. And I think they put it off, and now they've decided that that's going to be put off. I think it said next year. Google has delayed killing third-party cookies from Chrome again, and this is because of obviously advertisers and things having nothing else to do. So Google keeps promising to phase out third-party cookies on Chrome, but not actually doing it. The company vowed to deprecate cookies back in 2020, pushing the date back to 2023, then to 2024. There was some traction early this year when they did a small percentage of Chrome users, but now to that end, I think they pushed it off to, it's going to be 2025 before we see Google Chrome trying to do away with cookies, and that's because of, they're trying to do away with cookies because of the new, I can't remember what it's called, but the new advertising categories where rather than trying to record your personal information, it's just trying to record information about the categories of websites you've recently visited. But yeah, they've postponed that again. But as cookies are obviously things that web designers and, well, anyone that uses websites need to keep in mind, really. The last thing, again, this is not a cybersecurity thing, but it's kind of ridiculous, and I figured I'd mention it. So, this is nuts. So, Windows 11, KB5036980 update goes live with start menu ads. This was spotted in the preview version. Now, there was talk to going to Windows 12, but actually Windows 24H2. Andy, hi, how are you? How are you doing? Thank you for joining. Oh, I'm Mac again. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, this... sorry, what was going on? Windows 12 was scheduled, but now they're bringing out Windows 11 24H2. Now, you can get this by signing up for the Windows Insider program. I probably wouldn't do it on a live computer. It's But Windows 11 24H2 does bring some additional features with it. One of those features is adds to the start menu, I'm guessing, which this update will affect all Windows users. They've added support for, so going back for as long as I can remember, you can extract zip files on Windows, but tar and 7zip, other files like that, you couldn't do. They've now included support for it, which, whilst welcome, the context menu on Windows 11, when you right click it, you've always got to click show more. I did a video on how to set it back to the old context menu, and in Windows 11 24H2 there's an option called compress to, where you can actually create tar files or 7zip files, or just zip files. So you right click compress to and the zip type that you want it to. Unfortunately, that menu doesn't appear on the old style context menu or the full length context menu. It's just not there. So you have to use the compact context menu to do it. I might do a video on it. I don't know, but I'd still generally, I'm going to leave the old context menu there. It's not that much of a reason to bring it back and just install 7zip, which I've been doing for years anyway. Excuse me. I've been doing for years anyway, and 7zip has obviously much better functionality and support for extra options. But it's interesting that Microsoft have brought that option in and left it out of the context menu, the full length context menu. Don't know why they would have done that. Seems silly to me. But this is ridiculous. So Microsoft has enabled start menu ads in the optional KB 503-6980 preview cumulative update for Windows 11 22H2 and 23H2. And this is what you get. 7zip is the best. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I get Windows is it 95, 98 that zip file extracting and compression was brought in. And it's like basic compression options. 7zip is just, I don't know, it's kind of the go-to tool. You can change compression levels, password protect things easier. It's just a lot more, it's just a much better option. So I'm not going to, I mean, I don't use Windows other than for doing YouTube videos anyway, to be honest, because it's just easier with OBS, and I've got an Adobe subscription, so editing videos is easier on Windows. Since I pay for the Adobe suite, I might as well use it. Natively, I use FreeBSD most of the time, but it's just a little bit restricted. Some of the hardware acceleration and things don't work properly. But yeah, so this is the bit here. When you click on your start menu, so they've got recommended, recently added. It's got snipping tool. The snipping tool in Windows 11 is actually better than the previous versions. It allows you to record video. I was walking a client through how to do this today, which is quite cool that that's built in. Really don't like Windows 11 GUI. Menus are terrible. Start menu clunky and buggy. Windows 11 uses so much resources. Snipping tool, good take video. Snipping tool's a funky little utility for doing that. I agree completely on Windows 11. So I run a lot. I'm doing it for editing my videos and stuff because I've got the subscription for Adobe. I'm just having interface issues with it all the time. I mean, Adobe products crash anyway. But like the interfaces on the app start to get oversized, and I'm not really a massive Windows fan anyway. But this advert thing here, like this one here for 1Password. So you paid for Windows at some stage. Do you want ads? That's just one of the... I don't know, that's kind of makes you want to tell everyone to go and run and install Linux or something. Or even Mac. So, yeah, that's just a ridiculous idea that you're now getting adverts. And it's not the first time Microsoft have put adverts in Windows. They do it all the time. And then they take it out. The new Outlook app was found to be like, I think I covered it last week actually. EU entities, when they open the new Outlook app, it said like, we're going to share your data with like 700 external parties. Right. So let's get on to what I wanted to cover. Let me close this. So I'll do the OPNsense one first. Now I did cover this last week about OPNsense 24.1.6 being released. So it's mainly bug fixes. Can I say anything that's not? I mean, they pretty much are bug fixes for 24.1.6, and obviously updates. So there was vulnerabilities that was fixed in PHP 8.2.18, and I'm not sure what the 8.3 version is. OpenSSL had a fix in it, and then they just updates for various plugins. But the WireGuard page generator, which I covered in a video, I think I did it as a separate video. I know I covered it on a live stream, but I did it in a video as well. Was quite extensive, so a few more tweaks and fixes have been done in that area. So thanks for all the responses regarding this feature addition. Now I did recommend, if you're running OPNsense and you're running you're using ZenArmor with it, don't upgrade, because ZenArmor put a tweet out about, is it called a tweet these days? An X? Yeah, it's still a tweet to me. But ZenArmor put a tweet out saying don't upgrade because there's a compatibility issue between MongoDB and ZenArmor in 24.1.6. But they've now recently announced that that's been fixed. So you can either reinstall it or just upgrade I've lost my mouse pointer. Or just upgrade. But now there's no reason to not upgrade to OPNsense 24.1.6. Now, with that being said, let me just pull this off a second. Have I got one? Yeah, I have. So, this is OPNsense. I think it's on the latest version. 24.1.6, which I did that. I updated it last week. I wasn't using ZenArmor, so it wasn't a problem. The VPN, WireGuard, page generator. So this is what was introduced in 24.1.5, if I recall correctly. This is really good. So when you're setting up pairs, it's a pain in WireGuard. In fact, I had a question on this earlier. Somebody mentioned about trying to set site-to-sites up and things. So now obviously you can just stick the endpoint in. So usually the public IP address, give it a name. You got your public key, private key, the address. So when you want to report that as a bug, it's spelt wrong. Can that be seen? No. ADRESS, yeah. So the address is a list of addresses to use on the remote pair. These will be allowed and optionally routed from this instance. So that'd be the public address. Obviously, you've got your private ones. You can generate your pre-shared keys from this. Allowed IPs. So this is always a funny one, the way it's named. Allowed IPs. It's like, it's networks that you want to route through the tunnel. So not just a list of IP addresses that are allowed through. It's not like a firewall thing. It's networks that you're going to pass over that tunnel. Let me zoom this out a little bit. So that's a new field that they entered in the 24.1.6. And the DNS server was missing. So you had to manually put them in. And I get it, it's not hard to do if you're familiar with WireGuard. If you're not, then you've got to go and Google it. Whereas you can stick your DNS servers in here, generate you can see how that's updated automatically. The need for this is obviously if you're using site to site and you want the other site to use the DNS server from the other site, then you need to pass the DNS through, and this was missing. Again, it's not hard, it wasn't rocket science, but it's just like a quality of life improvement. But this whole thing, you can then either just copy that old config and paste it into your peer, or you can scan that. So this is I really like this functionality of this WireGuard peer generator. I think it's really good. So yeah, now you have no reason not to upgrade to OPNsense. Sorry, upgrade to the latest version of OPNsense. So, with OPNsense out of the way, let's take a look at 24.03 of pfSense. So this is now publicly available. I did mention it was upcoming. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before that I brought it up. But I did mention it was coming. So, excuse me, sorry about that, a bit of a cold. So the changes and features. Introducing default password control. So it was announced that regulatory bodies were gonna, in the US specifically, are gonna start, as part of a framework, making sure that you can't use default passwords and things. Now, even when you installed pfSense originally, you could just set the password back to the default one. You'll get a banner telling you to change it, but there's nothing to stop you doing that. So that's what this is for. It's basically forcing you to change the password. So there's no default password. So that's just making sure that you can't use a default password. You have to change it. So now this is pfSense Plus, by the way, sorry. So it's pfSense Plus 24.03. Will it be into pfSense CE 2.8? The roadmap is available for it. I've had a look at it. I'll bring it up in a minute, but most of it seems to be related to bug fixes rather than any new features, such as these. So, enhanced update using ZFS snapshots. So the latest release introduces significant improvements to the software update mechanism, leveraging the capabilities of the ZFS file system. So, mainly boot environments and ZFS snapshots. So let me just throw this back a minute. We're going to pfSense Plus here. Yeah, we can use this one. Right. So, this is a pfSense Plus system. You can see we're on Plus. And if we're going to System, Boot Environments. So, this is not a part of CE. Somebody should fork it into it, in all fairness, or like adapt it into it and use it as pull request. So when you upgrade, what this is going to do is normally you can create boot environments and then you can make any config changes, create boot environments of your current system, and then you can reboot into the new one, make any changes, and if they don't work, fall back, and you can have multiple boot environments, like boot into different configurations, which is what this is here. So what the new version does is creates a boot environment for you. Once you've done the upgrade, the system will reboot, and And then there's a timer, basically a watchdog, that if that timer elapses before the system's fully functional and stable, it will automatically reactivate the previous boot environment and boot the firewall into that. Now that is a really good functionality. What is it? Is it $129 for the Plus license? If you're a business, I mean, it's definitely worth it because supporting the projects anyway. But like we have systems in, I'm going looking at one tomorrow actually, but we have systems all over the country, and updating them is a bit of a hairy task at the best of times. It always works. Every time I upgrade pfSense, I remove all the plugins. In fact, I did one for somebody the other day. I took one from 2.6.0 to 2.7.2 just by taking a backup of the config, removed all the plugins, did the update, restored the backup, and then it automatically restored the plugins, and that's the recommended way to upgrade pfSense. Which one failed? An issue of OpenVPN, but that was a config issue. One of the plugins actually failed, and I just reinstalled it, and it works again. I can't remember what plugin it was. But that's definitely switch this back. But that's definitely a great feature. Knowing that even if you update a system remotely, if it fails for whatever reason, it will reboot into the previous known working environment. And then if you need to send somebody out or send another unit out, you can obviously just back that up and send another unit out with the latest version on, send it down, swap it over. But your client's not going to have any downtime because you've been updating firewalls out of hours. And obviously it's a good idea to update firewalls. So that's enhanced protection. I'd say that's worth if you're a business, that really is worth the subscription for that all day long. Actually, it's not 129, it's there, and the 129 is for the home version, but still. I can't remember what the business price is. Can have a look in a second, actually, if you want. You can look at it yourself. So, packet data flow export. Net flow export. This is a great feature. So you can now, if you've got a syslog server, such as Security Onion, Greylog, whatever you're using, you can send your traffic logs through to it and analyze them that way. This is a handy feature. I think there's already something like this built into OPNsense, but this is a good feature. Gateway recovery. So that makes a gateway recovery options. I've just done this video as well. It means I'm going to have to do it again. So gateway recovery is to do with how killing states work. So I actually covered this in a video that sometimes when you're doing failover, some traffic just prefers to keep going out of the secondary one, which if it's a metered connection, in fact it says it there, so if it's a metered connection, you might not want that. It might not be a problem for you, but it can be an issue. So there's a couple of extra options to what happens when you're setting your gateway groups up for killing states and things like that. State policy change. So this is a security thing. So it's changing from floating states to interface bound states. Just bear with 1 second. Dying here, but we're still doing the stream. So yeah, but these two are the main ones: the net flow and the enhanced snapshots. And then the gateway recovery. So it's handy if your second connection is metered or you want your traffic to go over. You could force it anyway, but Upgrade VPN capabilities. I think I checked this last time. It's nothing to do with WireGuard. It's yeah. This is specifically IPsec. So it's good that they're still addressing these issues. Now I know that they're addressing IPsec bug fixes and things like that in 2.8 of the Community Edition as well, because we've got. So if I'm setting a site to site up, I'll do it with WireGuard for new setups. We've got plenty of clients out there that are still running IPsec, even between pfSense firewalls. Changing them is not really worth it for us, because it's something we'd have to charge to do for our time. It's not beneficial to the client at all, whether it's using WireGuard or IPsec. They wouldn't even notice a difference, in all fairness. But yeah, this is reducing processing overhead and enhancing performance. So IPsec gets a little bit faster. I still use IPsec now. I mean, I mentioned this last week. We've done many times I've had to link Draytech routers to pfSense and things. I don't always have the option to replace routers at the other end. Not saying there's not always a need to. If somebody would take my recommendation of upgrading a Draytech to pfSense or something, then, or even OPNsense, then yeah. But it's not always feasible. High availability at AWS. Okay, so that's pfSense Plus on AWS. If you're using H8 in AWS. So I will cover this, mainly the upgrade from. Let me get out of this. System, where is it? So yeah, this version I'm on is, it's not got the 24.03 update on it yet. So I will do a video on that. It's in a remote location as well, so that'll show you how you can upgrade things remotely. But obviously it's not going to include the functionality if it fails. So I'll probably do it the day before I go to wherever this is, because it's up at a caravan. So I'll do it the day before just in case it does fail, because the upgrading to 24.03, if it fails, is from the current version is obviously not going to auto recover. You need to be on 24.03, and future upgrades will work that way. So I'll cover that. While we're here, so pfSense 2.8. This is a roadmap for it. So pfSense CE software release 2.8. So the new features that are obviously the recovery features are not going to be included in the Community Edition, because the boot environments are not in it, so they're not going to be in it either. I've had a look through here and I can't see any reference to NetFlow or any of that type of stuff, so I'm guessing that's just going to stay in as a pfSense Plus feature, which I suppose it makes sense of them for people to justify the subscription if you're not using Netgate hardware. But if you are using Netgate hardware, obviously it's pfSense Plus. But pretty much all these are bug fixes and things. So remove Zabbix agent, PHP error, upgrade Unbound, add current boot method to system widget, handle root to, reply to, so the state policies might be implemented. Remove deprecated OpenVPN stuff. No, it wasn't OpenVPN. I did have an issue with OpenVPN, but it was a config one. So I upgraded that, and luckily, when it was set up, it had multiple crypto options in use. The one that when I rebooted, it wasn't there, and it started. When I restored the packages, it started complaining it wasn't there. And in the web UI, there was just a better. Where you've got the options on the right hand side for the encryption that you're using. One of the lines was blank, and it took me a while to notice it. And I just couldn't get WireGuard to start. I couldn't get OpenVPN to start. It just kept failing. So I had to jump down to SSH into it and have a look what the errors were appearing in the OpenVPN logs. And then I found that what it was referring to, which was the typo. But then when I went into the GUI and the actual deprecated encryption method had been removed, it was just a blank line, and I had to click on it and remove it. But you couldn't actually tell, if you need to see what I mean, because it was a blank line. But WireGuard is better than IPsec, faster than IPsec and OPNsense. Faster than IPsec and OPNsense. WireGuard's used by both of them. OpenVPN. That's a good question. So I still use IPsec between different routers. So not all of them support WireGuard, and if they don't, then I'll use IPsec. It's been around for a long while, and most routers do support it, so you can set it up. If I do get the option, I'd rather use WireGuard for site-to-site stuff. OpenVPN still has its place in the world, as far as I'm concerned, for road warrior type setups. If you've got even if you've got 20 clients and they're all connecting back to your office, then the OpenVPN client export, you can just export the OpenVPN client, the config, install it on the machine and set it up. And then if somebody leaves, it's just dead easy to revoke the certificates. Because one, you can have certificates. Two, you can have username and password notifications. I don't just use certificates with OpenVPN. Use certificates, and OpenVPN is more user friendly. Definitely, it's more user friendly. It's just quicker to do, and time's money at the end of the day. But especially if you're handing these things off to IT people, like to IT staff at companies, because we do manage core managed services. So some of the companies we deal with still have their own IT people, and it's just that easy for them to create a user, you create a certificate, and then you export the client, drop it on the laptop, install it, and you're good to go. You can revoke certificates. I always set up the strict certificate name matching. So if you get a username and your certificate name matching, it means that that certificate can only log in as that user. So you couldn't different users couldn't log in from different laptops, if you know what I mean. Excuse me. So OpenVPN definitely has its place. So yeah, it's definitely more friendly. So pfSense 2.8 is upgrading to PHP 8.3.0. Is that the latest version? I'm not sure. But the 2.8 stuff all seems to be bug fixes and no new features as such. Support using master block addresses and cut show interface subnet details. None of these are like support for CD DVD drives. Reconfigure IPsec Vita interface only when necessary. So these are all like small enhancements and bug fixes. Automatic split DNS one-to-one NAT. Better handling of duplicate IP addresses feature. Kill states using the pre-NAT address. The NetFlow stuff is just going to be down to pfSense Plus. It's good in the way that it works, though. They say you can log all traffic, but you can do it on a per rule basis as well. You don't have to collect everything. Reordering IPsec may result in malformed configuration. I've actually seen that a few times. Happened to myself. Firewall log widget does not expect. So they're all pretty much bug fixes, as you can see from here. But I mean, it's not dead. They're still supporting it. Upgrade fails due to undersized DFI file system. That was more of a FreeBSD thing, than, to be honest, but they're fixing it. Installing ZFS Mirror does not format or populate UniFi partition on additional disks. I've noticed that before as well. So if you run pfSense and you run it off a mirror, and your primary drive fails and you reboot, it won't boot. It won't boot off the mirror. Yeah, that's a bug in the current one. I think the nightly builds are already available for 2.8, but I wouldn't run nightly builds in production until it's actually released. Some Kia DHCP stuff. DNS authorized, ignore all alias if first trend shows a domain set but no host name. Yeah, it's all bug fixes pretty much. Yeah, so don't expect the NetFlow stuff in the community edition, and certainly don't expect the advanced recovery and boot environments and stuff, because the community edition doesn't. The boot environments are not in it anyway, even though they're a part of FreeBSD. Never really understood that. I guess it was a selling point for what they was doing. Right, pretty much done, to be honest. The last thing I wanted to mention, so let's see if I can find it. Richard, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very, very much. Appreciate all the support. Thank you. I talk to myself all day long as well, so it helps to have other people to talk to. Where is it? I can't see it. Let me just pull it up. So this website is not impressive, but TrueNAS CORE. So there's been what is it? zVault.io. I'll laugh at this website. It's terrible. Is that what it is? Yeah. Let me transition this in. So there was talk on the TrueNAS community forums where Chris Moore's been responding and stuff. Some people have decided they're going to fork TrueNAS CORE so they can keep it going. I apologise about this website, by the way. So there's no functionality of it here yet. The address is just zVault.io. So somebody's registered the domain for this. They've got it set up. So roadmap coming soon. There's a contact there if you're interested in getting in touch with them. What is it? So they've got the code. It's got GitHub repository. I think that's just a website. Yeah. So at the moment, that's just the. There's back keys on it. Yeah. So the GitHub repos are currently just with the website, which is terrible, and you probably won't want to copy anyway. This background picture. Oh. So, philosophy. We believe FreeBSD is perfect for a NAS. Now, I believe this as well. So there's a lot of, I don't know how many people actually involved. The information about this is very, very quiet. And they've said that it's not a security thing. They're just trying to get organized before they release it. And they're hoping to have this, I believe, in the first half of this year or something out this year about it. But we do not believe that hyperconvergence is the solution for everyone. We harbour no ill will towards IX Systems. We appreciate the work that they've done in the community for years, and I wish them the best of luck in their endeavours with TrueNAS Scale. And they're saying, so it's literally going to be they've removed. Is it gone? Yeah, they've removed it. So I don't know what licensing type issues, copyright issues, this is going to... Licensing, I mean copyright. So copyright issues, this is going to flag up with regards to the FreeNAS and TrueNAS names because they're owned by IX Systems. So they're going 100% open source, 100% private, no tracking, no telemetry, no cookies, no email request, and no newsletter. So this is just some guys that have decided that they prefer Core. I prefer Core to Scale, in all fairness. I'm going to be doing some videos on Scale just because I haven't even installed it. I've not even upgraded the system to it. I don't use jails. I use my NAS just for NAS and just to store things. So before I bring this up, I don't know how much water it holds, but people have been talking about it. And there's a couple of people that seem to be keen and they're trying to organise it and get it going. And people have said, will they be able to contribute to it? So it's going to stay open source, so you should be able to commit pull requests and things if you're interested. So if you are any form of web developer, FreeBSD guy, like developers, anything like that, maybe it's something you should look into. Vermaiden brought this to my attention. I'm going to obviously keep an eye on it to see where it goes. But for the time being, IX Systems are carry on supporting that at the moment. So we're still using Core. I say I haven't upgraded any systems to Scale at the moment. I'm still installing Core for people. Yeah, it's not dead yet, but we'll see how that goes. With that, let me transition this over. So it is, I have been going for just over an hour. And I am out early in the morning. I've actually got to go and relocate a pfSense to another building. Got a couple of them on this week. So I'm going to cut this short here. Thank you for everybody that turned up. So Kevin, Andy, Mark, again, you guys from... you turned up last week as well, so I appreciate the turning up for a second time. And of course, Richard, thank you guys. Mark, thank you. I will be back next week. I say I'm not moving to a Thursday. It's just sometimes with football on, it's a bit of an issue. So I'll stick to Wednesdays if that's the best option for people. I'm just trying to stay from Thursdays because other people do live streams on Thursdays. So we'll be back same time, 19:30 GMT on Wednesday. Thank you.